right?
Yes, I mean, I'm going to ask you about that soon.
Okay, so like this is crazy. Of all people who I would never, well, I don't want to say never would imagine, but a couple of years ago, I'm a huge Janet Jackson fan.
Oh no.
And I'm following her on Instagram, and she has on this hoodie.
Really?
And I was like, wow, she's saying, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thing. And I reached out to her manager on Instagram, and he was like, dude, just go to the website. They got everything you need. And boom, a couple of days later, I had it.
Wow. I love that. It's an interesting story. So I guess that means never be afraid to reach out. You don't know who can hook you up with something or show you where to go or etc.
Right.
I love that. That's courageous. Me, I couldn't have done it.
I'm like almost on the level where I'm like kind of like stalking her because I'm such a big fan. So yeah, so that's like never an issue for me.
I get that. I like that. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Professor Jason?
Professor Jason, also known as Professor J. I am in my 16th year being an educator in Houston Independent School District.
Right.
Shout out to Hartsfield Elementary School, which is where I currently teach pre-K.
Okay.
Pre-K.
Fun age.
Fun age, energetic
Absolutely.
age, funny kids really love what I do. And somebody asked me just the other day, you know, have you ever thought about going to middle school and high school? And my answer is no, never.
I understand.
The need for positive, strong black male figures, especially in areas where I teach that are underserved, where you have kids who are below the poverty level, and there's mom and dad is almost an unheard of figure.
Yeah.
We're really needed. So there's that need, and then believe it or not, I kind of feed off of them because they give me what I need for the big kid in me. And I tell people all the time when my appraisers come in, you subject to find me rolling around on the carpet with them because when we got like a new workstation because we don't do worksheets or anything like that. That's like a huge no-no in our current setting in early childhood. But anyway, I love playing with all of the little toys that they have and stuff like that.
And now the slime that they have out.
I got literally like quarts of it in my closet. I'm like, okay, you know, we're gonna get to see who's gonna get to take this from Professor.
Right.
Then I didn't. I'm playing with it.
I see.
Graduate of HBCU, graduated from Texas Southern.
Wait, I have to ask. I'm also a graduate of HBCU. Which one did you attend?
I went to, started at Prairie View.
Okay.
Started at Prairie View. Prairie View was not really the ideal situation for the sheltered child.
Absolutely.
Because you get to Prairie View and it's out there in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing to do but party, and you do more partying than you do studying.
Exactly.
So after a couple of years, my parents were like, no, you come on home.
That's right.
And that sort of thing. Ended up going to Texas Southern, and that's actually, you asked me, how did I get the nickname Professor? Trying to see how I can make that story really short. So, you know this mentality in education, it's a female-dominated field. There's rarely do you see men, and in early childhood education, we're even fewer and further between. So, imagine me in a classroom of all girls, and they would kind of sit around and they'd be mumbling, all they want to do is just be the PE coach, you know, he ain't gonna do nothing and all that. Well, meanwhile, I already have my foot in the door in HISD, and I'm getting help on like all of our major projects from teachers and principals, you know, and stuff like that. And so every project I'm getting 90s, 95s, 100s, you know, and all that. Well, as many people know, you don't just graduate from college and boom, you're a teacher. You have to take your certification exams.
That's right.
So certification exam time comes around. We take our exams. They all flunked. Every single one of them. I passed on my first go. So they were like, you know, can you know, kind of tutor us and help us? And I was like, oh, now you want help? Oh, you want help now? You know, and all that. Well, I decided to, take the Michelle Obama route, and when they go low, you go high. So even back then, I decided to go. I was like, let me go in and help these people. They need help. Had a couple of tutoring sessions. Sure enough, lo and behold, they take the exams again and they pass.
Wow.
And they're like, man, we have to start calling you professor, because you helped us out, and all that. And from that day forward, it just kind of stuck. It just kind of stuck. So people have been calling me that for as long as I can remember. And so when I decided to go into being an author and stuff like that, I was like, hey, that's a perfect. We have Dr. Seuss, and we got Professor J.
There you go. I love it. So let's go ahead and talk about your book. So tell us about how that started.
So that's a weird story too. I know you're like, all you got is weird stories, but
that's okay.
I was actually sitting in a waiting room with my family. Family is extremely important to me. We're sitting in a waiting room. My 80, we say 80, we don't say aunt's grand.
Right.
And she's having a procedure done, and I'm bored. So I pull up my iPad and I'm like, let me just jot down some ideas about stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea came to mind. What if Jacques from Jacques and the Beanstalk had been a little black boy?
Yeah.
How would that narrative have changed? Mm-hmm. Would it have changed? If it did change, how so?
Right.
What would the outcome have been? And so as I sat there and I was writing, it came to me, yes, it would have changed, because there are cultural differences in the ways that black people parent, white people parent, Hispanic people parent, and things like that. And so you know this, that in the classic folktale, Jacques tells, the mother tells Jacques, we're poor, we're down to our last little bit of food. The only thing that we have of any worth is our cow. You need to go sell the cow so we can get some money for food.
Right.
He goes, does what he needs to do. He comes back with these beans. And the mother says, oh no, what are we going to do? That's not what I asked you to do, son. That's not how the black mother is going to respond to that. Not even close. Not even close. And so I wanted to just explore the what ifs and the if-then scenarios that would take place once again if that family, that mother and that child and the giant were African Americans. But so as not to alienate, because I've taught kids of all nationalities, including having a bilingual kindergarten class that I taught a few years back. I didn't want the book to be exclusively for African American people. I wanted it to be accessible for everyone. So what I decided to do was add colloquialisms and idiomatic expressions that are unique to African American culture, but throughout the book, those expressions are highlighted. And then there's a glossary in the back of the book, so that when people who are not familiar with our culture come across those phrases, they can see what we mean when we say a spell. You remember the color purple. She comes up and says, can Daddy stay with us for a spell? A lot of people, you hear spell, you think either spelling a word or casting a spell, but to us it means a short period of time. When we hear full day in the morning, it means early in the morning. Well, everyone doesn't know that. And so the goal is to spotlight our culture and to enlighten other people about why we say this, that, and thus, and so on, why we do some of the things that we do. And then to be able to explain that it's okay to be different in your method of parenting. It's okay that there are cultural differences in a world, in a nation that is so culturally divided as it is now. I feel like I need to be able to do my part. So that's where it started. But then my uncle, who just went to heaven earlier this year in January, thank you, Louis Waddell, who is just the model for business owners in our community. I grew up in the Hiram Clark area, graduated from Madison High School, was drum major from Madison, and my uncle owned a convenience store right across the street. So everything that he thinks is business, business. He reads it and he goes, boy, you gonna do something with this, right? You gonna do something. You need to publish this. You need to publish this. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about getting any of that done. And then the hand of God just took over. And it was not an immediate process because I'm talking literal years from the time I actually started it, picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down, to the time that I thought, I need to listen to my uncle.
Right.
And here's why. I've been in the classroom for 16 years. I'm not saying that there are not any children's books that don't have African American characters, because there's one that's been on the top of the bestseller list for kids' books, The Snowy Day by Jacques. Not Norman, also a widely popular children's book that features an African American character, but there aren't enough. So what do? Do I continue to gripe and complain about it, or do I do something about it?
Exactly.
And at that point, I decided, figure out how to get it published, figure out how to get it illustrated, figure out how to do all of the wherewithal that I'm going to need to bring this thing to the hands of kids.
So let me ask you a question. What is the name of your book?
The book is called Jacques.
Jacques.
Okay. So, everybody's going crazy over Jacques and his whole declaration that he's the new king of R&B. Whatever. So, when people see the cover of the book, and I'll show you, I have one for you that I wrote for you today.
Can we see it real quick?
Of course.
That way you can show the viewers.
My brother/manager is here. He'll get it for us. And so, of course, the title is on it. And so, whenever people see it, the first thing that comes to mind is they say, "Oh, you wrote a book, and it's called Jacques. It's called Jacques. It's called Jacques," and all that stuff. And I've gotten to the point now, and of course, this is for you. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, I don't really care what you call him as long as you buy the book.
Right.
And that's all that really matters. You can call him whatever you like. And Jacques is my baby. Jacques is my baby. And I remember years and years ago when one of my favorite authors, Terry McMillan, when Waiting to Exhale transitioned from book to film, and Oprah interviewed her. She asked her if she ever imagined that it would get to that point. And she was like, no, whenever I write a book, it's like, having a baby and hoping everybody that thinks that it's cute. That's where I was with that when it first debuted. I just wanted everybody to think my baby was cute. And so it did get somewhat of a following. We developed the hashtag for all of and this was so shocking, to wake up one morning and to discover that I actually had fans. That was crazy. It was humbling. I have always, throughout the whole process, asked God to please keep me humble about the situation. I don't want to have a big head about it. I realize that I'm just a vessel. I can't do any of what I do without God. I just can't. And so I did not want to take credit for any of it because, as I just said, it wasn't even my idea to publish it. It wasn't. Even the finished product that you're looking at now, I was discovered by a powerhouse lady by the name of Rhonda Branch Yerby, who owns her own publishing company. And just by chance, I ended up at a book signing that she was doing with some of her artists. And I initially self-published, and it was a mess.
Oh, okay.
It was a mess. The typeset was off. It was, it was a mess. But I was just so proud of what I had done, So I walk up to her and I'm like, I'm Professor J, and I wrote this book, and I really want, you to look at it and all that. And so she kind of scrolls through it, and she's like, oh, this is cute.
Oh. She is cute.
Yeah, she said, this is cute. Let me give you a call if you need help.
Right.
I'm thinking I'm never going to hear from her.
Oh.
The very next day she called. And she was like, I read your book. Mm-hmm. You're onto something. Mm-hmm. I'm going to help you.
I love that.
I was totally blown away. Mm-hmm. I'm a big crybaby, so I'm doing like the ugly cry where I'm slinging some dither and yon and that whole thing. And it was amazing because she did for me what she charges people $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to do. Right. But she believed in the idea of putting a little black boy front and center in the hands of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. She believed in that so much that she took it upon herself to say, hey, we'll talk about money later. Right. Let's get you an ESPN number. Let's get you registered with the National Library of Congress. Right. Let's get you on Amazon.
There you go.
In paperback format, in coloring book format, in ebook format. 2 weeks later, she goes, okay, here are your formats, you're live on Amazon.
Wow.
And I'm like, you lying.
Right, it's surreal.
Yeah, it really was. It really was to think, one, my grandmother raised my mother and all of my aunts and uncles to know that people don't have to be nice to you.
Exactly.
No one owes you that. And here I have this person who thought enough of me and my vision to put it on the forefront. And that was just amazing. And she refers to me as her company is called BY Publishing, which is Branch Yerby Publishing. She calls me Mr. BY Publishing because I'm the only guy on her label.
I believe it.
So,
like you said, that's another field that's not popular for men.
It's not popular for men. And it was such a departure from most of the other authors who she had, and no disrespect to them because I refer to all of them as my big sisters in the author game because they've written stories about being abused and neglected and marital rape and things like that I could never relate to and all that. And so here I come, with this little cheery, funny kids book and all that. And she was like, yeah, but that's what we need. Yes. And so never a sign of resentment from any of them. Whenever we're all together and stuff like that, they're like, this is our little brother, in the game and all that. And that makes me feel good, to know that we're uplifting each other.
That's right.
And that we're all headed towards a common goal.
Absolutely. I love that. So tell me a little bit more. What is this book about? What is Jacques about?
So this is what happens. It follows the traditional story. The story opens where Jacques' dad has passed away. It speaks to what is the reality for a lot of young black boys today. They're growing up in single-parent households, and they're poor. They are dirt poor. And the mom says to him, okay, this is what our situation is. The only thing we have of value is our cow, whose name is Twinkie. The cow's name is Twinkie, and it also happens that she's a talking cow.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just decided that I just wanted her to talk. So, you're going to have to go and sell Twinkie. She's our only means of being able to get some money to come in so we can have some kind of means of getting food. Okay. And he says, okay, he's obedient. He does what he's asked to do. And here's the kicker. Jacques does not like beans. Now, we know that for most people who sit on or at the poverty level, beans are cheap. Yeah. They cook in good volume, and all that. It's filling and all that. He doesn't like beans. So the irony is that when he goes into town and meets the town hustler, whose name is Rollo, Rollo's like, hey, that cow, come on, I got something, I'm gonna hook you up. So Jacques falls for the okie doke, and he sells Twinkie for these beans. He gets home with these beans and everything just falls apart. Mom is like, oh my God, why would you do this? That was so irresponsible, that whole thing. And so the story follows again, the story of the traditional folktale. She tosses the beans out the window. He wakes up the next morning, there's this magnificent stalk growing outside in the backyard. He climbs it, he gets to the top of the clouds, and there's this huge castle. And there's the giant's wife, who is so tall that, and you'll see when you read it, all you can actually see is her feet and her house shoes and all that. And long story short, he goes, Jacques actually should go down for like theft because that's basically what he ends up doing. He sneaks into the castle, the giant is asleep. This is where I reel in kids. While the giant is sleeping, he snores and he farts. No child can resist the word fart. At all. And when you do a read aloud with kids and they hear that and you make the noise, it's over. It's over. It's over. I did make one slight change to the narrative in that we know that in the original story, as the giant starts to pursue Jacques, that he chops down the beanstalk and the giant falls to his death. I didn't want that. I wanted to do a little something different. And so in this one, the giant does fall, but he ends up creating a huge crater in the town where Jacques lives. And there's no way of being able, because of course he's hurt. There's nothing that can carry him except for their fire trucks. So he's sentenced to an indefinite series of anger management classes that he has to go to. And so another twist that I gave it is there's an update at the end that tells you what became of Jacques, what became of his mother Betty, what became of Twinkie, what became of the harp that he stole, what became of the hen that he stole. And we never find out why Jacques never got arrested for burglary or whatever. So that's just left and ambiguously. But if you really think about all of those tales, some of them were gruesome. Some of them had to do with just downright thievery and that sort of thing. And so I just changed it up a little bit just to make it mine.
I like that. That's very different. So is there, what is the actual message that you want to send to the kids?
You belong. You belong. You have a place on this earth. You have a voice that needs to be heard. This is, and when you go to Amazon, you see that it says Jacques Volume 1, because it's a series that I'm doing where I'm taking all of the classic fairy tales and I'm putting an ethnic spin on them. In January, we will get my second one, which is, what if Goldilocks had been black? And so that book is called Go-Go and the Unfortunate Grit Incident.
Oh, wow. I already think I understand that.
Because we don't eat porridge. We don't eat porridge,
We love our grits.
But we love our grits.
So the question I think a lot of our viewers are going to want to ask about this grit piece, sugar or butter?
Whoa. I see my brothers like falling out. That topic is addressed head on.
Here we go.
It's addressed head on in the book without giving too many details. The resolution to sugar, salt and pepper, butter, and all that actually ends up saving Goldilocks' life.
Interesting. Okay.
In the book.
Oh yeah, you guys better go out and get this next one too. Plus this one. Be ready.
Be ready. I have said this. My brother has said this. Several people in my circle have said this. In addition to, we talked about this before. During this interview, that I'm a huge Janet Jackson fan. I'm also a huge Michael Jackson fan. Love Jackson. Love him. This is my off the wall.
Wow.
Go-Go me, claim me, call me, and Go-Go will be my thriller. Go-Go will be my thriller. It took me like maybe a year and a half to write this. Do you remember when the winter storm came in 2017?
Yes.
When it literally, it kept snowing in Houston of all places and all that.
I was stranded at home.
I was stranded at home. I mean, where else could we go? Over the course of 2 days, I sat down and I wrote from cover to cover. Go-Go, of course, is not the full name. Is actually dedicated to my godmother who passed away a couple of years ago. And so Goldie is her first name. Locks is her last name. Her full name in the book is Goldie Sharon Yvette Locks.
Oh, that sounds like us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a shout out, of course, to my godmother whose name was Sharon Yvette Nelliams. Who passed away a couple of years ago, and she was just a huge support to me, and I wanted to be able to honor her and her memory in the book and everything. And so, of course, Go-Go came from one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Kill Bill.
Okay.
And there's a character in the movie called, and her name is Go-Go, and so she's just called Go-Go for short. And as we talked about earlier, that whole sugar versus salt thing is really what's going to end up saving her life.
I can't see that. I have to read it.
It's crazy. There are shout outs to Houston culture all over the place. I-10, Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church.
Right.
Shout out to Dr. Cosby, best pastor this side of heaven. My mayors attend Willie Avenue Baptist Church. And the whole scenario where Go-Go breaks into their house happens when they go to growl rehearsal.
Okay.
As you know, and everybody, there's this big uproar in Houston about Frenchies having to move because our sanctuary is being built and that sort of thing. And so there's a little funny thing in the book where instead of moving to another location, Frenchies and the church merge.
Right.
So literally when you get out of church, you can just drive around to the side of the church, and the drive-through to Frenchies is on the side of the church.
Oh yeah.
So you can get your communion during church service, and then you can go get your fried chicken after it's over, that sort of thing.
I love that.
And all of that. So it's just, little things like that. We're in Pearland now.
Right.
My bears live in Pearland. And so
I like how you made all the different connections.
I think sometimes it's just insane how I think about, just different silly things and things like that. But I'm really, really proud of what's going to become of it. The illustrator, shout out to Abe Powell, who's all the way in Alabama, and he's working feverishly like day and night to get the pictures just right, to be the way I want them to be. And I, have taken him to task several times. I know, it's got to be just right. It has to be, it has to be. And I've said to him, the first one can't be good, and the second one be so-so.
Absolutely.
So
that's right.
the
So
first
this
one
one is going to be the bomb. The next one is going to be just
has to be phenomenal.
That's right.
Has to be phenomenal. And then from there, it goes even higher. And again, I realize that I'm just a vessel because my third book is already written.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, thank you. My third book is a take on, we live in an age of bullies now.
Right.
I want kids to know that bullying is nothing new. Bullying started in the Bible.
That's right. It is.
So my third book is a retelling of the David and Goliath story.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait.
And when I came up with the title, everybody was like, "You're a sick man." The title of my third book is A Pocket Full of Stones.
Oh, okay. I see it. All right.
You got it? You got it? So, shout out to Bun B, man. Got to send him a copy of the book when it comes out and that sort of thing. But it's true. The Bible tells us that there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
And so, if people were being bullied way back then, because Goliath taunted David the whole while that exchange took place. That's what bullying is. There's nothing new about that. And so if I'm able to give our kids an example of, and of course I'm going to have to change some things because of course we know Goliath met a very ghastly end at the end of the book, but I'm not going to compromise the scripture. The story needs to be told. The story has to be told as it, I'm not going to, water it down to the point where the truth is not there. But I want kids to know that you can triumph over being bullied and taken advantage of and those sorts of things, and to know again that there's nothing new about it. That it's been done throughout the ages.
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Your story and your book itself, I can't wait to read it. I have popcorn and hot chocolate coming tonight with my dog.
Oh wow, how cool is that? So I added a little extra bonus for you. The book is actually available in several different formats. I don't know if you're a colorer.
Yes. I am, though.
So I brought the coloring book for you. I meant to bring some crayons, but time just got away from me. So if you're having one of those moments where you just need to, have a little woosah time and that sort of thing, by all means, color it however you see fit and everything. But this has truly been a blessing. Thank you for allowing me as an educator to show that black men right.
Yes, and I love that.
We've heard of black girl magic, but black boy magic does exist.
Hashtag.
Right, absolutely.
So how can our viewers find you on Facebook, Internet? What can they do?
My Facebook is ProfJason Fletcher, Prof Jason Fletcher. My Instagram is a little bit more difficult. It spells out you better same boy. The letter U better BETTASANGBOY. That's my Instagram. Comes from the first time I sang a solo in church, and my oldest, meanest auntie was standing back on the background and said, "You better sing, boy!" That sort of thing. And that's how they can find me on those two formats. And so anybody who wants to follow, please do. There's nothing inappropriate that you'll see. I'm a teacher, we can't do inappropriate stuff. So
no, but I thank you for that. And I want you all to follow him right now. It's very important because there's not too many of us really doing things for our kids as a black man. That's huge. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
And I just encourage you to keep doing it.
Thank you.
And I thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. God bless you as well. The funny thing about doing things and being successful, we've heard Steve Harvey say, just jump and things like that. I just want to let any and everybody who's under the sound of my voice know that at one point in time, I was almost 400 pounds, like literally weighed 375, 76 pounds. My motto in life is that if I can do it, anybody can. So whatever it is in life that you want to do, if it's going back to school, pursuing a degree, if it's becoming an artist, if it's no matter what it is, first of all, pray and ask God and seek His guidance, because nothing is impossible without Him. Let's think about it. We've heard this before. It's cliche, but it's also true. Impossible also spells what? I'm possible. Whatever it is, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, go for it. And even if you don't reach your goals, you won't have any regrets because you'll know that you've given it your all. So Professor J's just want to give an encouraging word to anybody's out there that you can do whatever you set your mind to do.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching another episode of Renewed Therapy. Please be sure to email us if you want to be a guest on renewedtherapy@gmail.com.